How many times have you given up something important for somebody else, thinking it would make that a return? You sacrificed your time, your energy, maybe even your dreams, all to keep the peace or make someone happy. We live in a world where people expect you to compromise, to bend, to sometimes give up pieces of yourself just to fit in or please others. But let me tell you something loud and clear. There are certain things you should never sacrifice for anyone. Not for your job, not for a relationship, not even for the sake of keeping the peace. Now, I'm not saying sacrifice is always a bad thing. There are some things that are too valuable, too core to virtue, to put on the line. And if you lose them, you're not just losing things, you're losing you. We all want to love, and we want to be loved. We want success. We want to be appreciated. And sometimes, in pursuit of those things, we start giving up parts of ourselves that we should hold onto with both hands.so today. We're going to dive into the 5 things you should never, ever sacrifice for anyone. Because no relationship, no job, no situation is worth losing yourself over. The first thing you should never sacrifice is your self-respect. Now let me break it down for you, because there's a big difference between self-respect and pride. Pride, that's ego. It's all about proving something to the world, about making sure people see you a certain way. But self-respect, that's deeper. It's about the relationship you have with yourself, about the way you carry yourself through life, and how you allow others to treat you. And the thing about self-respect is, once you give it up, it's hard to get back. You start compromising on the things that matter most to you, and before you know it, you're bending so far backward that you don't even recognize who you are anymore. Too many people are out here losing their self-respect just to keep the peace or make someone else happy. They're stuck in relationships where they're not valued, working jobs where they're undervalued, or living lives that don't reflect who they are all, because they're afraid to stand up and say, enough is enough. You see, it's easy to fall into that trap. You tell yourself it's just for now, or maybe if you give a little more, things will change. But the more you allow yourself to be walked over, the more you'll start to believe that's all you're worth. And that's where it gets dangerous. When you sacrifice your self-respect, you lose sight of your own worth. And if you don't respect yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? People treat you the way you let them treat you. If you allow disrespect, manipulation, or even just a lack of appreciation, it sends a signal that you don't value yourself enough to demand better. And here's the hard truth. People will take advantage of that. They will keep pushing your boundaries, keep asking for more because you've shown them that you'll give it. Self-respect means setting boundaries. And that's something a lot of people struggle with. We think setting boundaries is being selfish, or we're scared that if we put our foot down, people will leave. But the people who can't respect your boundaries are the ones who shouldn't be in your life anyway. You've got to stand tall and let people know, this is how I expect to be treated. If they can't rise to that level, you got to be willing to walk away. And I know that's not always easy. Walking away from a relationship, a job, or even a situation you've been in for a long time can be terrifying. But staying in a place where you're not respected, that's even worse. Think about it. How many times have you stayed in situations where you were unhappy, uncomfortable, or even mistreated just because you didn't want to rock the boat? Maybe it was with a partner where you kept ignoring the red flags because you didn't want to be alone. Or maybe it was with a boss who constantly disrespected you, but you stayed quiet because you needed the paycheck. In those moments, you told yourself it wasn't that bad, that you could handle it. But deep down, it was chipping away at your self-respect little by little. I've been there myself. There was a time early in my career when I was so hungry for success, I was willing to put up with just about anything. I was so focused on making it, on proving myself, that I allowed people to disrespect me, talk down to me, and treat me like I didn't matter. And at first I thought I was just paying my dues. that it was part of the process. But the longer I let it happen, the worse I felt about myself. I started questioning my talent, my worth, and even my purpose. It wasn't until I took a step back and realized that I had lost my self-respect that I knew something had to change. I had to start valuing myself more and stop letting people treat me like I was less than I was. You have to get comfortable with the idea that not everyone is going to like your boundaries. Some people will push back. And if they don't respect you, they don't deserve to be in your life. It's as simple as that. Self-respect is the foundation of everything. It affects how you see yourself, how you allow others to see you, and ultimately the kind of life you live. When you respect yourself, you start attracting people who respect you too. You start demanding more from the world and you stop settling for less. And that's the key right there. Stop settling. You deserve better than just getting by, better than just keeping the peace. You deserve a life where you are valued, appreciated, and respected. And that starts with value and appreciating and respecting yourself. It's not just about how others treat you either. Self-respect is also about the standards you set for yourself. How do you talk to yourself? How do you treat your own body, your own mind, your own spirit? You can't expect others to treat you better than you treat yourself. If you're constantly putting yourself down, neglecting your health, or ignoring your own needs, you're sending a message that you don't think you're worth taking care of. And that's not the message you want to be sending. You've got to start treating yourself with the same love and respect that you would give to someone you care about. Take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. Speak kindly to yourself. Celebrate your accomplishments, no matter how small. And don't be afraid to put yourself first sometimes. That's not being selfish, that's necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly giving and giving without taking the time to replenish yourself, eventually you're going to run dry. Self-respect is about knowing your worth and not settling for less. It's about demanding the best for yourself and not accepting anything that doesn't measure up. And yes, that might mean walking away from situations, from people, from jobs, and from opportunities that aren't right for you. But trust me, when you start living from a place of self-respect, the right people and the right opportunities will start coming your way. You'll attract what you deserve because you've set the standard. So don't ever sacrifice your self-respect for anyone. Not for love, not for success, not for approval. Because at the end of the day, you've got to live with yourself. You've got to be able to look in the mirror and feel good about the person looking back at you. And when you have self-respect, you don't need validation from anyone else. You already know your worth, and that's all that matters. The second thing you should never sacrifice is your health. Now let me tell you something. We've all been there. You get so caught up in the hustle and chasing success and taking care of everyone around you that your own health gets put on the back burner. It happens slowly at first. You skip meals, maybe you miss a few nights of good sleep, and before you know it, you're running on fumes, thinking that's just the price you have to pay to get where you want to go. But that's a dangerous mindset. You start believing that sacrificing your health is part of the deal, that in order to win, you have to lose yourself in the process. That's a lie. The truth is, you can't give what you don't have. You can't pour from an empty cup. If your body and mind are running on empty, what are you really giving to your work, your family, or your dreams? Think about it. Success isn't just about achieving goals or hitting milestones. It's about being able to enjoy what you work for. But if you're too tired, too stressed, or too sick, what good is it? You can have all the money, the accolades, and the recognition, but if your body is breaking down, or if your mind is in a constant state of anxiety, what does any of it really mean? We live in a world that glorifies the grind. People tell you to hustle 24/7, to keep pushing, to sacrifice sleep and rest for the sake of the hustle. And don't get me wrong, hard work is important. Discipline is key, but there's a line, and too many of us cross it without even realizing it. We push ourselves to the edge, thinking we're doing what we need to do. But in the process, we're wearing ourselves out. And the dangerous part is, we think it's normal. We've got this mentality that if you're not tired, you're not working hard enough. If you're not stressed, you're not really putting in the effort. But let me ask you something, at what cost? What's the point of reaching the top if you're not healthy enough to enjoy the view? We see it all the time, people who worked their whole lives building pies, made millions, but they neglected their bottom of the way. They've got success, but they're battling illnesses, they're mentally drained, and their relationships are in shambles because they gave everything to the grind and left nothing for themselves. Your health is your foundation. It's what allows you to show up every day and give your best. Without it, nothing else matters. You can't be your best self if you're running on empty, physically or mentally. And let me tell you, this isn't just about hitting the gym or eating right, though that's part of it. This is also about your mental health. We don't talk about that enough. We've been taught to keep pushing through, to ignore the signs when we're overwhelmed, stressed, or anxious. But that's not strength. True strength is knowing when to pause, when to step back and take care of yourself. It's okay to admit when you're tired. It's okay to say you need a break. You don't have to be a superhero. You just have to be human. And being human means acknowledging that you have limits. If you're burning the candle at both ends, eventually it's going to catch up to you. Maybe it won't be today or tomorrow, but at some point your body and mind will demand your attention. The signs are always there, we just choose to ignore them. That tension in your shoulders, that constant feeling of fatigue, that mental fog, it's your body telling you that something's not right. And the longer you ignore it, the louder those signs will get. You see, health isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. It's about feeling good in your body, being clear in your mind, and having the energy to pursue your passions and enjoy life. And when I say health, I'm talking about a holistic approach: physical, mental, emotional, and even spiritual health. You can't neglect one without the others being affected. So take care of yourself. Get enough sleep. I don't care how busy you are, sleep is non-negotiable. Your body needs it to recover, to heal, to function at its best. I know we all like to brag about how little sleep we get because we're grinding, but that's nothing to be proud of. Prioritize rest, make time for it. You'll be more productive, more focused, and more energized when you're well rested. Exercise, move your body. It doesn't have to be any crazy, just get up and move. Your body was designed for movement. And when you don't give it that, you're setting yourself up for all kinds of problems down the road. And I get it, sometimes it feels like there's no time, but make the time. Your health is worth it. And let's talk about what you're putting in your body. You've got to fuel yourself with the right things. Junk food, processed foods, they'll slow you down. It's like putting the wrong fuel in a car. You're not going to get the performance you need if you're not eating right. Nourish yourself with foods that give you energy, that make you feel good. Your body will thank you for it. But like I said earlier, it's not just about physical health. Don't neglect your mental health. We live in a world where stress is just part of the deal, and we've learned to live with it. But constant stress is like poison. It seeps into every part of your life, affecting your body, your relationships, and your ability to enjoy life. So manage your stress. Find healthy outlets, whether it's through prayer, meditation, therapy, or just talking to someone you trust. Don't keep it bottled up. You don't have to carry that weight alone. You have to be proactive about your mental health, just like you are about your physical health. Pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to how you feel. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Don't tell yourself to just push through. Take the time to figure out what's going on and get the help you need if necessary. There's no shame in that. And let me say this, don't sacrifice your health for someone else's benefit either. Sometimes we get so caught up in taking care of others and being everything for everyone else that we forget to take care of ourselves. Whether it's your family, your job, or your friends, if you're constantly giving and never replenishing yourself, it's only a matter of time before you burn out. You can't be everything to everyone if you're not first something to yourself. It's not selfish to prioritize your health. It's necessary. Think of it like this: you're the engine that drives everything in your life. And like any engine, you need maintenance. You can't keep running at full speed without stopping to refuel, without checking the oil, without making sure everything's running smoothly. And if you neglect that maintenance, what happens? The engine breaks down. The same goes for you. You've got to maintain your health physically and mentally if you want to keep moving forward. So don't let anyone or anything take your health away from you. Don't sacrifice it for success, for approval, or for someone else's happiness. Because at the end of the day, your health is all you've got. Without it, nothing else matters. You've got dreams to chase, people who love you and a life to live, but you can't do any of that if you're not well. So take care of yourself, because when you're healthy, when you're at your best, there's nothing you can't do. Now, the third thing you should never sacrifice is your dreams. Man, let me tell you, this one right here is personal. It hits deep because I've seen it happen time and time again. People giving up on their dreams, not because they didn't have what it takes, but because someone else didn't believe in them, or because they were afraid of failing, or life being what it is threw them a curveball and they felt like they had no choice but to let go. But let me ask you something: who else is going to live your life for you? Who else is going to walk the path that was made for you, fulfill the purpose that's tied to your name if you don't? Your dreams are unique to you. They were given to you for a reason, planted in your heart like a seed waiting to grow. And if you sacrifice them, if you let them die, you're giving up a piece of your soul. You're saying no to the very thing that makes you you. That's why it's so important that you protect your dreams, that you hold on to them like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Don't ever let someone else tell you your dreams aren't worth it. Don't let anyone make you feel like your vision, your goals, your desires are too big, too unrealistic, or too big. People love to project their own fears and limitations onto others. That's just human nature. They'll tell you to be realistic, to play it safe, to settle for something more practical. But here's the thing: their version of realistic has nothing to do with your potential. Their idea of what's possible is based on their life, their fears, their experience is not yours. And yeah, it's going to be hard. There's no sugarcoating that. Pursuing your dreams, chasing after what sets your soul on fire, that's never going to be an easy path. You're going to face setbacks. You're going to fail maybe more times than you care to count. There will be moments when you start to question everything, whether you're good enough, whether it's even worth it. But let me tell you something: nothing worth having ever came easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Here's the thing: people are always going to have opinions. They're going to tell you what they think you should do, what they think is best for you. But let me ask you, are you going to live their version of your life, or are you going to live your own? You get one shot at this. One life. Are you really going to sacrifice your dreams just because it makes someone else uncomfortable? Or because the road looks too long, too hard, too risky? Look, I get it. It's scary to step out into the moon, to go after something that isn't guaranteed. But fear is a liar. It'll have you believing that the worst case scenario is the only scenario. But what if I told you that on the other side of that fear, on the other side of that doubt, is everything you've ever wanted? What if I told you that you're stronger than you think, that you're capable more than you realize? You've got to have faith in yourself, in your abilities, in the dream that's been placed in your heart. Because that dream isn't just random. It's tied to your purpose, to your calling. And when you sacrifice your dreams, you're sacrificing the very thing that gives your life meaning. Now, I'm not saying the journey is going to be smooth, There will be detours, roadblocks, times when you feel like giving up. But let me tell you, those are the moments that define you. Those are the moments when you have to dig deep and remind yourself why you started in the first place. And listen, sometimes it's not about the dream itself, but about who you become in the process of chasing it. The lessons you learn, the strength you build, the resilience you develop, those are the real rewards. So even if the dream takes longer to achieve than you thought, even if it doesn't look exactly the way you imagined, don't give up. Because the growth, the evolution, that's where the magic happens. But you know what happens all too often? People start out strong. They've got the vision, the passion, the fire. But then life happens. Maybe they fail a few times. Maybe they hear too many no's. Maybe someone they trust tells them it's time to give up. Time to be realistic. And little by little, they start to shrink. They start to doubt themselves. And eventually they stop pursuing their dreams altogether. They settle. And let me tell you, there is nothing worse than settling for a life that isn't yours, a life that doesn't fulfill you. When you sacrifice your dreams, you're settling for something smaller than what you're capable of. You're saying, this is good enough, when deep down you know you're meant for more. But you've got to be willing to fight for it. You've got to be willing to push through the fear, the doubt, the setbacks, and keep going. Because your dreams matter. They matter more than you know. And listen, chasing your dreams doesn't mean you have to do it all at once. It doesn't mean you have to quit your job tomorrow or take some huge leap of faith without a safety net. It's about taking consistent steps, even if they're small. It's about staying committed, even when the road gets tough. It's about believing in yourself, even when no one else does. Because at the end of the day, it's your life, your dreams, your journey. So don't let anyone or anything take that away from you. Not fear, not doubt, not other people's opinions. And certainly not the idea that you're not good enough or that you don't deserve to live the life you've dreamed of. You are good enough. You do deserve it. But you've got to be willing to put in the work. You've got to be willing to keep going, even when the odds are stacked against you. And let me tell you something else, when you pursue your dreams, when you refuse to settle, you're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for everyone around you. You're showing your family, your friends, your community what's possible. You're inspiring others to chase their dreams too. Because when people see you go after what you want, when they see you refuse to give up, it gives them permission to do the same. So don't think of your dreams as something selfish or unattainable. Think of them as your gift to the world. Because when you're living in alignment with your purpose, when you're pursuing what sets your soul on fire, you're bringing something to the world that only you can bring. And that's powerful. That's necessary. So keep going. Don't sacrifice your dreams for anyone or anything. Don't let fear win. Don't let doubt stop you. Keep your eyes on the prize. Keep your heart open and keep moving forward. Because when you do, when you finally reach that dream, it's going to be worth every single struggle, every single setback, every single moment of doubt. You were made for more. You were made to dream. Now go after it. The fourth thing you should never sacrifice is your values. Your values, man, let me tell you something about your values. They're everything. They're the foundation of who you are, the essence of your character. They shape the decisions you make, the paths you choose, and the way you move through this world. Your values are like your internal compass, guiding you through life's twists and turns. And once you start compromising on those, once you let go of what you truly believe in, you start losing sight of who you are. It's easy, so easy to get caught up in the moment. Life is full of temptations, quick fixes, and shortcuts that make you think just this once. You might feel pressured to fit in, to go along with what everyone else is doing. Maybe it's because you want to get ahead, or maybe it's because you don't want to rock the boat. But if you start sacrificing your values just to make things easier, just to gain someone's approval, you're playing a dangerous game. And let me tell you, that game never ends well. When you compromise your values, when you let go of what you stand for, you're making a deal with the devil. And that's a deal that always costs you more than you bargained for. Maybe you don't feel it right away. Maybe it feels like you've gained something in the moment. But over time, that weight, that burden that catches up with you, it chips away at your integrity. And before you know it, you're not even sure who you are anymore. You start living a life that doesn't feel like yours because deep down, you know you're out of alignment with yourself. You've got to know what you stand for. And you've got to hold on to that no matter what. No matter who is standing in front of you, no matter what opportunity is dangling in front of you, you've got to have the strength to say, this is who I am, and I'm not going to bend for anyone or anything. Whether it's in business, relationships, or just everyday life, your values are your foundation. They're what keep you steady when everything around you is trying to rock you off course. And listen, there are going to be times when sticking to your values feels like swimming upstream. You'll feel the pressure to go with the flow, to take the easy route, to just nod your head and agree. But if what's being asked of you goes against your principles, that's a red flag. That's when you've got to pause, take a step back, and remind yourself of who you are and what you stand for. Because the moment you start bending and breaking for the sake of convenience or approval, you start giving away pieces of yourself. And once those pieces are gone, it's hard to get them back. It takes courage to stand firm in your values, especially when it feels like the whole world is moving in a different direction. There will be moments when you feel like you're the only one fighting for what's right, the only one who cares about integrity, honesty, or doing the right thing. But let me tell you something, there's strength in that. There's honor in standing tall when everyone else is willing to bend. And people will notice. They may not say it out loud, but they'll see it. They'll see that you're not willing to compromise, that you're not swayed by the noise around you. And that kind of character, that kind of strength, it speaks volumes. Trust me, you don't want to live a life where you're constantly compromising. You don't want to be the person who says, well, I had to do it because that's what everyone else was doing. Or I didn't have a choice. Because there's always a choice. It might not be the easiest choice. It might not be the most comfortable choice. But there's always a way to stand firm in who you are and what you believe in. And here's the thing, when you stick to your values, when you refuse to sacrifice them, you attract the right kind of energy, the right kind of people, the right kind of opportunities. The universe has a way of rewarding those who stay true to themselves. But let me be real with you, it's not always going to be easy. There will be times when standing up for your values costs you something. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a job. Maybe it's an opportunity that looks real good on the surface. But you've got to ask yourself, is this really worth it? Is this worth giving up a piece of who I am? If the answer is no, then you've got to be willing to walk away, even if it's hard. Because here's the truth. If something or someone is asking you to sacrifice your values, they're not really for you. They're not in alignment with who you are or who you're meant to be. And that's another thing, you've got to surround yourself with people who respect your values, who see the strength in your principles and support you in standing firm. If the people around you are constantly trying to get you to compromise, if they're not respecting the boundaries you've set, then you need to reevaluate those relationships. You want to be around people who uplift you, who challenge you to be better, but who also respect who you are at your core. Because your values are non-negotiable. They're not up for debate. There's a lot of noise in this world, a lot of distractions that can pull you off your path. But at the end of the day, when you lay your head down at night, you've got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and be proud of the person staring back at you. That's what matters. That's what counts. It's not about how much money you made or how many people liked you or how many followers you gained. It's about your integrity. It's about knowing that you didn't sell yourself short, that you didn't compromise on the things that matter most. And don't think for a second that standing firm in your values is a weakness. It's the exact opposite. It's a strength. It's a power that not everyone has and not everyone understands. But when you live with integrity, when you stick to your principles, you become unstoppable. You walk through life with a kind of peace, a kind of confidence, because you know that you're living in alignment with your true self, and that's priceless. So don't ever sacrifice your values. Don't let the world convince you that you need to bend and break to succeed. Success built on compromise is fragile. It can crumble at any moment because it's not rooted in anything real. But success built on a foundation of strong values, of unwavering principles, that's unshakable. That's the kind of success that lasts. At the end of the day, it all comes down to who you are when no one's watching. It's about the decisions you make when there's no applause, no audience, no one telling you what to do. It's about living in a way that honors the person you were meant to be. So stand firm. Hold on to your values. And don't let anyone or anything take that away from you. Because once you let go of your values, you let go of a piece of yourself. And that's a loss you can't afford. And finally, the fifth thing you should never sacrifice is your happiness. Now this one right here, this one gets overlooked so often in today's world. We live in a culture that glorifies the grind, that celebrates the hustle like it's some kind of badge of honor. Every day you hear people talking about how they're on the grind, how they're hustling hard, and how they're never taking a day off. But let me ask you something. What's all that success worth if you're not happy? What's the point of climbing that mountain if you reach the top and realize you're miserable? Your happiness matters, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Your joy, your peace, your contentment, those things are just as important, if not more important, than anything else. You see too many people out here sacrificing their happiness in pursuit of someone else's version of someone else's S. They stay in relationships that drain them. They keep working in jobs that suffocate their spirit. They chase after goals that don't even resonate with them anymore, all because they think that's what they're supposed to do. But life is too short for that. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to wake up in the morning excited about your life, excited about what you're doing or about the people you're spending your time with. Don't let anyone, and I mean anyone, convince you that your happiness is secondary. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for choosing joy, for choosing peace, for choosing you. Now listen, I'm not saying every day is going to be all sunshine and rainbows. No, life doesn't work that way. There are going to be days where the rain just keeps falling. There are going to be seasons when you feel like the weight of the world is sitting on your shoulders. But even in those moments, you've got to protect your happiness. You've got to make it a priority. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Happiness isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you fight for. And sometimes that fight isn't glamorous. Sometimes it's hard. It means making tough decisions that might make other people uncomfortable. It means walking away from situations, jobs, or people that are stealing your joy. It means choosing yourself, even when it feels like the hardest thing in the world. And sometimes it means saying no when the world expects you to say yes. You see, we've been conditioned to believe that happiness is something we have to earn, something we get at the end of the journey after we've put in all the work and made all the sacrifices. But that's a lie. Happiness is not the reward for grinding yourself into the ground. It's not the prize you get after you've hustled yourself into exhaustion. Happiness is something you deserve right now, in this moment. Not when you've achieved some arbitrary level of success. Not when you've reached a certain income or title or status. Right now, I've seen people who have everything: money, fame, power, and they're the most miserable people you'll ever meet. They've sacrificed their happiness for the pursuit of success. thinking that once they got there, they'd finally feel fulfilled. But what they don't realize is happiness isn't something you can buy. It's not something you can chase. It's something you cultivate, something you nurture. And that means you have to make choices that protect it, that prioritize it, that honor it. And here's the thing, nobody's going to do that for you. Nobody's going to come into your life and hand you happiness on a silver platter. That's your job. You've got to be intentional about it. You've got to make the tough calls. Sometimes that means walking away from a relationship that's no longer serving you. Sometimes that means leaving a job that's sucking the life out of you. Sometimes it means setting boundaries with the people around you who are draining your energy. It might be uncomfortable. It might feel like you're letting people down. But in the mirror, when you lay your head down at night, can you honestly say you're happy? Can you honestly say you're living a life that brings you joy, peace, and contentment? If the answer is no, then something's got to change. And that change starts with you. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, I've got responsibilities. I've got bills to pay, people to take care of, goals to achieve. And I get that. I'm not saying you should abandon your responsibilities. But there's a difference between fulfilling your responsibilities and sacrificing your happiness. There's a difference between working hard and grinding yourself into misery. You can work hard and still be happy. You can chase your dreams and still have joy. You can be successful without sacrificing your peace. But it all comes down to the choices you make. You've got to be mindful of where you're putting your energy. You've got to be mindful of the things and the people you're allowing into your space. Because let me tell you, happiness is fragile. It's something that can slip away if you're not careful. And don't think for a second that you're being selfish for choosing happiness. That's another lie we've been told, that taking care of ourselves, that choosing our happiness is selfish. But how are you supposed to pour into others if your cup is empty? How are you supposed to take care of anyone else if you're still caught running one else? You've got to take care of you. You've got to fill your own cup first. And when you do, you'll find that you have so much more to give to the people around you. Happiness isn't just about feeling good. It's about living a life that's aligned with your values, with your purpose. It's about waking up each day with a sense of peace, knowing that you're living in a way that honors who you are and what you believe in. And let me tell you, there's nothing more powerful than that. So don't let anyone make you feel like your happiness doesn't matter. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. You deserve to be happy. And you deserve to live a life that brings you joy. And if that means making some tough choices, if that means walking away from things or people that no longer serve you, then so be it. Because your happiness is worth it. You are worth it. And remember, happiness is not a destination. It's not something you arrive at once you've achieved all your goals. It's a journey. It's something you cultivate every day with the choices you make and the way you choose to live. So protect it, guard it, fight for it. Because at the end of the day, when all is said and done, what really matters? Is it the accolades, the money, the status? Or is it the peace in your heart, the joy in your soul, the contentment in your spirit? You get to decide what your life looks like. You get to choose how you spend your time, your energy, your resources. And my advice to you is this: choose happiness, choose joy, choose peace. Because life is too short to live any other way. So there you have it, 5 things you should never sacrifice for anyone: your self-respect, your health, your dreams, your values, and your happiness. These are the pillars that hold you up, that keep you grounded, and that guide you through life. Protect them with everything you've got. Because when you sacrifice these things, you're sacrificing yourself. And there's no relationship, no job, no amount of success in the world that's worth losing yourself over. Life is too precious, too short to be anything but true to yourselves. So take a deep breath, stand tall, and make a promise to yourself that you will never sacrifice the things that make you you. Because when you protect those things, when you live in alignment with who you truly are, that's when you'll find the peace, the joy, and the fulfillment that you've been searching for. Trust me, it's worth it.